Hello there. Welcome to episode 96 of the Oblivious Maximus podcast. I'm your host, Aaron Osborne. This week, my guest is Joel from the Amity Affliction. Joel and I talked about Poison the Well and their record, You Come Before You. And then very quickly spiraled into just talking about everything else that's happening in the world and music and whatever else at the moment. But yeah, it was a fun chat. It was cool to talk to someone who's really loves this record, and it's not a record that I've had that much exposure to. I've certainly heard the band a lot, and lots of friends of mine love the band, so I've heard them in cars and things like that before. But it was cool to talk to someone who was sort of really into the record and, you know, knows a lot about the band as a fan. But yeah, it was a fun chat. And yeah, as I mentioned, it kind of spirals out of control like these podcasts tend to do. And we just talk about everything else that's going on in Joel's life and my life and that sort of stuff at the moment. But rip and chat, it was fun. Hopefully do it again sometime about something else. So please enjoy episode 96 of the Oblivious Maximus podcast with Joel Birch from the Amity Affliction. Fucking brutal. Joel, thank you for talking to me about a record.
No problem.
All right, so you picked Poison the Well, You Come Before You. Why this record?
Yes. Because two reasons. It came at a really good time for me. I just sort of moved to Brisbane a few years earlier, and big city for a small town guy.
Yeah,
it was pretty hectic, and I had a mixed experience. I was homeless there for a while, so
yeah, brutal.
yeah, I was like sort of coming to terms with becoming an adult and everything that entails, and also it's like super clear that he's got some issues with his dad.
Yeah,
This is the first album where I think he really explored that.
mm-hmm.
And I sort of, well, not sort of, I had the same feelings, and didn't know my dad, and I was like, yes, this explains everything. And I like very much about lyrics, and his lyrics are even from back then, and still to this day, I think they hold up well and really eloquent, and just a great way of describing his emotions.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's quite interesting. I think, I guess music at this time as well, I mean, takes a bit of at least, from my perspective, takes a little bit of a turn where a lot of bands do start exploring stuff, heavy bands start exploring stuff in a lot more, maybe deeper way than I guess previously heavy bands had done, other than just telling your parents to fuck off, like actually talking about what your feelings are.
Yeah, it was a cool movement, especially for me. I've always been like a softer, sort of more emotional person, and so all this music coming out was pretty amazing for me. I was like, oh wow, maybe I'm not just a weird pussy.
Other people are like this too.
Yeah. So it was cool, and to have it come in this sort of packaged up in this sort of really aggressive form was really cool for me, because I was like, oh, you can actually explore these deep emotions and these feelings of abandonment and hurt, but get it out in this really aggressive manner. And I was just like, this is fucking it. Like, obviously, Opposite of December was what introduced me to them, like every other person in the world. But this one, I thought was like, this sort of blew my mind. I was just like, this is fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Like, how have they done this?
Well, it's really interesting because, like, I think, I mean, I've obviously listened to the band before and heard the record and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But, like, I don't think I've ever really, certainly with this band, just, like, sat down and, like I've been doing for this, like, sitting down and actually listening to every song and making notes on it and stuff. But, like,
yeah,
it's quite funny where this band, I don't want to say they get lumped with, but, like, they are often described.
No, they get lumped.
Yeah, okay.
They get lumped with.
There you go.
Yeah.
I'll let you tell me that's okay to say that. But I feel like they get relatively unfairly lumped as just like, oh, they're a metalcore band. That's it. Like, because
but
this record has such an interesting like tone to it in that like the music is very like open sounding. The drums are really real and like the guitars are quite airy and have a lot of space in them and stuff. And it's definitely not, if you say metalcore, this isn't that record. You know?
No, you you think metalcore and you think like laptop.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or at least I do. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, metalcore. Oh, it's like super crispy.
Yeah.
You know, it's like getting the good thing at the supermarket. You know what I mean? Like you've got the options there, and someone goes, "Oh, you can have metal," and it's like the fucking rough product that's, you know, hearty, and then metalcore is just this. It's like a Twinkie.
It's it's
a can. It's nice. It's presented perfectly. It's all there.
It's when they say those tomatoes are organic, but it's wrapped in like a plastic wrapper with a styrofoam tray.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah. Yeah, you gotta love that. They gotta you know, have the marketing and still sort of shout out to the environmental destroyers at the same time. Keep everyone happy.
Yeah.
But no, I do know what you mean, because most metalcore music that came out around this time was pretty like boring, and I don't think anyone was really pushing the boundaries. They'd sort of discovered, oh, this works, and everyone was sort of sticking to it, or trying to add more singing in. Whereas I think these guys just continued what they did on Tear from the Red, but better.
Yeah. Well, and certainly, like, I think as well, a big thing with music like this for me is that when I don't like it is when the singing is very jarring, where it does feel like it's been like shoehorned in by someone going, oh, you scream in the breakdown, chorus. You sing in the chorus. That's how it goes, you know?
Yeah.
Where this seems to be quite natural for them.
Yeah, and I think as well, like, he's got a pretty diverse voice. So I think like him just like speaking into singing into screaming back into speaking into screaming back into singing is like, it just seems to ebb and flow more with how he's feeling in the song than necessarily just a standardized kind of formula.
Yeah, I always thought rather than just fitting it into the part it's a part of or whatever.
Yeah, and I think like I mean, it sounds like you didn't really follow them at all, but if you take the time to listen to where they ended up as well, with the Tropic Rot, it's insane. Like they just kept progressing, but never in like a linear format. They just they really pushed it and pushed it and pushed it until the very end.
Yeah, well, like a lot of my close friends, I guess, like loved them. So I've had like a exposure to it by like people housemates listening to it or listening to it in the car on drives or whatever. But I mean, one thing that I guess surprised me in this record, and again because it's not, I guess, the end of the progression. This is sort of a bit earlier on in the piece in terms of the life of the band.
I'd say this is like the first step they took.
Yeah.
Away from what was a fairly traditional metalcore structure.
Sure. But there's even like, I mean, and I don't know, maybe it is because, obviously reading a bit about it, like it's the first, you know, the record that's on like a big label, not like a metalcore, hardcore label or whatever. But and I don't know if it's, maybe there was a more budget to explore doing things, but like, I mean, the fact that there's like, throughout the record, there's like little flourishes of like country guitar, surf rock, like slide guitar use, like all that stuff. To me, as a guitar player, to me, that stuff is like the sickest thing ever. Like if I could do that on every record, I would, you know?
Yeah, you're like full nerd. You're like, hang on a second. Like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
You're like fully, because there are quite a number of guitars on there. And I don't know why that would have been. I think for a time there, a lot of bands were getting pretty hectic budgets.
Yeah, well, I mean,
people were still buying records.
Yeah. Well, and I think recording it, like, I mean, I saw that they recorded the drums and stuff at Sound City in LA, which is like, you know, they recorded Fleetwood Mac there and stuff. So, like, it's pretty. And I know some people that have recorded there, and I know it is still very expensive. So I can only imagine it was even more back then.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, that's for sure. Like, of course, would have been pretty insane.
Yeah.
But I always find it weird how bands are like, I want to go record here because this record was done there. And then I guess you've got bands like Parkway that just fart on the famous amps and stuff like that. So, you know, different ends of the spectrum there. But
well, you know, you got different reasons to go, you know. Sometimes you just want to go fart on something.
Yeah, I'm just going to go fart on this Led Zeppelin amp, you know. It's pretty good. I never really understood that. I guess maybe you hear like you might know as a guitarist, but is it like a room thing? Like you think I'll get a certain sound from this room, or
I don't know. I think I certainly think there's a bit more. I don't know if it's like hype around you just want to do the thing where someone else has done it, or I mean, obviously I don't record stuff, so I don't know what the actual intention would be. I mean, I know certainly when I was younger, like there was always like, oh, I'd love to go record here because this death metal record was done there, or here because this great hardcore record was done there, or whatever.
True.
But then, like, as I get older, like the last proper record I did, we went and fucking rented a house like an hour out of Canberra and just fitted the house out, and it was like the sickest thing ever because I just got pissed with my 4 mates for a week. And like that, like, I don't know if that's growing up, but like
that's so much better. That's like dad rock.
Well, and it actually was dad rock. And the whole reason we did it is because our bass player needed to go home because he just had a kid. So he was like,
well, there you go.
You know,
absolute dad rock.
But to me, I don't know, like, I suppose as well, it's definitely different. I mean, and you've probably experienced this a bit, but it's definitely, it feels considerably different for bands that obviously live in the country where these things are based. So, like, you know, there's a studio that Led Zeppelin recorded at and it's down the road from your house versus us having to fly to the other side of the earth to get to it, you know?
Yeah, that is true. That is true. I never ever thought about that, but I'm just a crude vocalist, and I'm very typically a vocalist. I don't play any instruments. I don't care. I don't understand what a song sounds like if they take my singing off it. Like I am very much the typical frontman idiot. I'm the caveman in the band.
Well, at least you're focused, you know. That's something to say.
That's one way to put it.
I think another thing that I noticed, that like another note that I made about it was like while it doesn't while his vocals don't fit into the, I guess, normal, you know, brutal verse singing chorus every time that a metalcore band would do, it does have, like, that being said, it does have some very like hooky choruses to it, which
absolutely.
Again, that, I mean, as a, you know, as like a, someone who hasn't focused much attention on the record before, that is, that's why people like pop music. It really it sucks you in, being able to have that hook there.
Yeah.
But it really, and like, again, I don't know if this is a diss to them, but like, it definitely, a lot of that reminded me of like the Deftones and stuff, but I don't know if that's intentional.
They would love that.
Okay, well, there you go.
That's like one of their favorite bands.
Mate, I'm killing it with these random shots in the dark with Voice in the Horror.
Dude, just nailing it. Yeah, but that was I remember like seeing interviews and reading interviews with them, and they were always going on about the Deftones. So I think that's probably the coolest thing about Deftones is they inspired music across the spectrum. You know what I mean? Like they were very much, they were huge and they were a popular band, but they were also like a very band kind of band's band at the same time, because they had all these crazy weird tricks that no one had done.
Yeah, well, that's what this band strikes me as too. I don't know. I could be wrong about that. I don't know them that well.
No, you're pretty right as well. All the bands, mad sweaty, and I think they were very big in their time, but they were definitely like trailing behind bands like 18 Visions and Atreyu.
Yeah.
Just because they weren't as like straightforward. I guess there's a bit more to it.
Yeah. And I mean, the interesting thing with that though too is like it's kind of obviously it is a bummer for people who care a lot about it, but as well, it's like that that payoff is never gonna actually be there for that stuff. Like, no, I assume there's not that many people who frothed Atreyu back in the day that are still sitting there going like, gotta put that fucking Atreyu record on. Like it feels like that's something you grow out of a little bit. But we played with them in Japan recently. With Atreyu?
Yeah.
How was
it? It was so bizarre. It was just so bizarre because I mean, like we've been doing, like, I guess the band started in part because of them, like not on my part, but Aaron was a super fan, and just being there was just such a strange, like, I was just like, we wouldn't exist without this band, and I don't care. Like, I was just
but they were another band that kind of that I don't know. Again, I could be wrong about this. I'm taking a lot of just pot shots with metalcore here, but like they were definitely one of those bands as well that seemed to adopt some strange like cock rock stylings about their band as well.
Do you remember what happened there for a while? Like every metalcore band lost their mind and thought they were in Motley Crue.
Yes, like they were all wearing bandanas, big Guns N' Roses vibe happening.
The big fucking belt buckles and everything. Like, it was really weird there for a while. I don't know what was going on. I was watching it happen to all my friends. The hair spiked up, but like real long hair. I was just like, what is happening? I don't understand. Heaps of like the 2 revolver pistols on the at the bottom of the stomach. I was just like, this is so crazy. That will never exist again.
No, and
that era of music.
Yeah, and that's what's like, and I think that's what really is a unfortunate detriment to a band like this, is that of this, the time frame that they existed, what was, I guess, more present in people's vision was stuff like that. Like
100%. Fuck, you remember Wendy Icon?
Oh yeah.
Like, that is a band that just took it to the next level.
And well,
Morning Tide.
Yeah, I was just about to say people we all know very well.
Vinny's still there.
Oh man, what an unfortunate thing that everyone found Motley Crue as like in their.
That's like like in their 20s.
Yeah,
like, why? Yeah. Well, I went back and watched. I watched some Morning Tide videos just like maybe a month or two ago, and I was just like, This sounds like it could be on that Catatonic Youth's
Oh,
Instagram.
it there from time. I am basically all my life at the moment is just spent waiting for the day that someone finds the music that I've played when I was a kid and it ends up on there. Like half the reason I follow it is just out of personal fear that I'm going to be featured at some point.
It'll be a reckoning for Australian music because there was some funny music being made.
Yeah. I mean,
Some great music, but some funny music as well.
well, yeah, and it just seems yeah, it seems odd. It seemed really odd to me that that period became I guess because the music was quite becoming quite successful, I suppose, in the context of what it was, that either labels liked it so they got signed to big labels, which clearly this record did, but that's obviously a
Yeah.
music thing. Like, but then other bands, maybe if the labels didn't come, their way of trying to, get attention for the label was maybe we just add a bit more cock rock in here and like they'll.
Yeah, it's so strange. Like maybe it's what we look like.
Mm, which is,
I don't know. That whole era was so cheap, like
yeah.
it ruined so many bands. And then there was also like MTV was still a thing, and they just started doing that MTV Cribs, and like they were doing like they did Atreyu and they did 18 Visions, and it was just like why is this happening to this music? Like
Yeah.
this music is not for that. But everyone tried to make it for that, and it sort of dwindled off.
Yeah. Well, and then it seems like a lot of those bands now too that are still going that aren't, that didn't sort of bite the dust have have either had to revert back to what they were doing and they've kind of lost it, or they've just sort of kept following the path of like strangeness. Like even though it's a more like metal version of it, like a band like Machine Head, like when they started, they were like a legit band. Like people liked them. They were guys from an old metal band that people liked, and now they're just like a, you know, they're like a Catatonic Youths band at this point. Like, and it seems so like if you told me in school one day you'll be making fun of Machine Head, I'd be like, no fucking way, bro. No way will I make fun of Machine. And now, like, if I see a
I've
picture of the singer, I'm just like, oh god, what is this dude doing?
Yeah, I've only ever liked one of their records, and it's from like 2002 or something.
There you go.
2001, 2002. Yeah, and then after that, I was like, I don't understand this anymore.
Yeah,
And
they have a real like. I would say the vibe now is kind of like bordering on like your red American states, like metal
nice,
fans. Like
nice.
they've kind
Yeah,
of
yeah. I say no more. I understand.
they've kind of
Yeah,
lost
it's like
they just lost it.
it's like Lamb of God, but
Mm,
like I mean, music for rednecks, but with
yeah.
super intelligent people in the band. It makes no sense.
Yeah. I mean, I think, and what again when you look at trying to tie it a little bit back into this record, when you look
Oh
at
yeah, we just keep rambling. Sorry.
no, that's fine. When you think about a band like this too, it is very interesting that part of that it started broadening out so much into more like, I guess, like normal people or people who wouldn't otherwise associate with this, because this musically, again, like I mentioned before, that musically this record's like quite interesting. It's very, there's
Yeah.
lots of weird time signatures, there's lots of weird song structures, there's lots of experimental sort of, music. I think like there's a harmonica on it at one point. Like surely it's got to be the only metalcore record with a harmonica on it. Like,
Well, I don't think it's the last time they used that either.
yeah.
I'm pretty sure it comes back in a later album. But if you go and like listen to versions and then listen to the Tropic Rot, and then
Mm,
they put out this release that was just like weird shit they'd worked on. It wasn't B-sides, but it wasn't a record. kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it was so sick. It was just like the most hectic, aggressive, like thrashy sort of metalcore, but without like fully no frills. Just
Yeah.
like they just went for it. And it's just called 1, 2, 3, 4. That's it.
Yeah.
Like,
Sick.
yeah, and it's fucking insane. But yeah, I don't know, man. They're I for me, like, this album is sort of hard to beat.
Yeah.
Within metalcore, I think they were the best band to ever do it, and they did it in the best, like, most honorable kind of fashion. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
they never cheapened themselves.
Within that lens, what would be stuff that you would otherwise associate this with? Like, what would this, to you, what would its actual peers be?
I thought that it was like it was like the if you put Shai Hulud on paper and then you put two forks off. I always thought that one fork went to Misery Signals, and that this could possibly be a different iteration of that.
Sure.
If that makes sense. So
Yeah.
like Misery Signals kind of, like, I don't want to say dumbed down because they're really insane musicians, but they definitely made Shai Hulud a bit more palatable.
Yeah.
I guess maybe it was the lyrics as well, because like Matt Fox wrote like he was from the 1500s, but
I agree with that.
he did. I mean, I was doing creative writing at university at the time, and when that Within Blood Ill Tempered came out, and I did like a 2,500 word essay on Shai Hulud, and I was just like, yeah, this dude is fully speaking like Shakespeare. Like, it's pretty wild. But yeah, I just sort of I thought or felt that the softer parts of Shai Hulud created or like inspired Poison the Well in my head, at least, and you know, maybe not Shai Hulud, but definitely that sort of strain of music that was happening at the time, like the weird, like, melodic metal mixed with hardcore kind of thing that happened.
Yeah.
I don't know, it was all that whole era, like the whole like Hellfest era was really like crazy and brought about some really insane music and crossover stuff. So it's hard to say, but I mean,
it just,
I don't think.
No, go on.
Yeah, I don't think they had a peer at the point where they were a band.
Yeah, it kind of, to me, a lot of like parts of it even, and I don't know if it's just like the, you know, sort of like the openness of how it sounds. Like, it actually sounds like real drums. It sounds like real guitars and things like that. Even reminded me of, like, you know, it's obviously a bit of a dumbed down version of it, but parts of it even reminded me of like Hope Conspiracy and things like that as well, which I'm sure, musically weren't exactly the same, but had the, I don't know if
they were all like, like, you'd remember back then everything was informing everything. Like, it was pretty normal to go like and watch a band like From These Wounds with like, even with Amity, and we did not fit on the bill, but the bill was just so mixed. There'd be like an emo band on the same same show, you know, and everyone was just all about it. So I would be surprised if HopeCon didn't inform parts of Poison the Well. You know what I mean? Like, that would shock me.
Yeah, it's quite interesting now how that seems to have taken a relative shift in that. I mean, like, all the first shows I played, you know, like the first band I was in was effectively like a nu metal band that became a death metal band over the course of us like growing up. But like, the first show, I think the first show we played as a nu metal band was with like actual death metal bands, and then when we were actually a death metal band, we were playing with like pop punk bands. So it was like,
just insane.
Yeah. Which to think about now is
You
like a
just
show like that would not happen anymore. Like,
and it wouldn't work.
yeah.
Like no one would go.
Yeah.
They'd be like, "What? No, yuck." I guess it was a burgeoning scene back then. Like we're pretty old. It
Mm.
was different. There were less people into it. It was definitely much more of a subculture. It wasn't, no. The biggest band I think was probably Prom Queen. And looking back, they weren't very big.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. I mean, and it is funny to think about that. It is, yeah, it's funny to think about that stuff now in the context of where, a lot of that is at this point too. Like, I mean, going from playing those, your band is a good example, going from playing the weird little mix bill shows to playing, obviously doing your own headline tours that are at big venues and things like that. It is,
Yeah.
but obviously, the lineup doesn't translate to that as time goes on. Like, obviously when you guys do tours,
which
you gotta.
is a shame.
Yeah, it's true.
Well, I don't know. So we're at a point now where we really do try to diversify it.
Yeah.
But we couldn't do that like 4 years ago.
Mm.
You know what I mean? So there was a period where we had to have like, yes, okay, well, we have to put like metalcore band A, metalcore band B, and maybe like poppy
Yeah.
metalcore, pop punk or some shit on there. You know what I mean? Like it had to be super relevant, but we're trying to sort of kick that to the curb, but we tried to do it in Europe, and it didn't work.
They weren't ready for that.
They're not about the mix bill. They like things to be. They like it to go from 0 to 11 for the whole night.
I have to say, when I Exist, our band toured over there, and there was like, we would play like our band being the frame of it, just being all like stupid stoner metal stuff. Like when we would get to play some of those festivals and stuff, it would be like the greatest show ever if another band of our similar vein was happening. And if we were on the hardcore, whatever, serious guy bill, no one was vibing on our weed leaf bandanas and stuff.
Yeah, I feel that, dude. I feel that. Well, you'll be happy to know that once we played the first festival of our festival run over there, we played this festival and we rocked up and we were like, fuck, this is insane. It's like on this beautiful, beautiful river in Austria somewhere, like right on the border of Austria and Germany. And we're like swinging off a rope, having the time of our lives. We go back to the bus and all we can hear is techno. And we're like, oh, that's weird. Like, that seems pretty weird. And then as the hours go on, it's like, has anyone heard of band? And we were like the only band on the first day.
Jesus.
It was like a warm-up day for the festival. So yeah, I too have enjoyed those awkward European experiences, because Europeans are just so strange to me. Like they're like so curious that they'll watch you just to see what's going on, and then you're like in this weird predicament where you're looking at people not enjoying your music, and it makes it very difficult to enjoy what you're doing.
We had a dude at one of the shows. He was like, we were just like the opening band. Who cares, whatever. But at one of the shows, there was a dude who was like up the front when we were about to play, and we were like, "Oh, this guy fucking knows us. This is wild." A dude in, well, I can't remember, maybe it was in like Denmark or something. Oh, this guy fucking knows I exist. This is sick. And then he was just sort of wearing like normal clothes, standing up the front, and then like we're setting up.
Yeah.
He was watching us, and I was like, "Oh, this is changing." He left and came back, and he was like literally head to toe, hat, t-shirt, shorts, all D's Nuts merch, and was just a big like Australian export fan. Like that's what he was down for. And
Yeah.
he kept screaming out like Aussies at us the whole time the thing was happening.
Oh, wow.
And then at the end of the show, like, you know, we're finishing and we're like wrapping up, and as soon as we stopped playing on the PA, that it started playing AC/DC, and the dude was at the sound desk, and I was like, oh, he's the sound guy. Like the sound guy just loves Australia. So
yeah.
and I was
It's
like,
such a weird thing, isn't it?
it was bizarre. It was and it was one of those things where I was like, as our group of friends, that's like one of our like go-to things now is just like, you remember when that guy, we thought a guy liked our band, but turns out he actually was just like strangely a big fan of Australian stuff. Like,
yeah. It's definitely not a world that we're used to over there. It's a different kind of passion, let's say.
So how are you going? I mean, obviously you're at home like everyone else, but how has this shit impacted you guys? I assume very considerably.
Oh yeah. We're lucky that we played the 2 tours at the start of the year.
Yeah.
And then we had like we get royalties or whatever, but we like because of where the band's at internationally, whenever we get paid a sum from Roadrunner or whatever, it just goes back into the band. Like I don't see any money. No one sees any like cash or whatever, right? And this year we were like, yes, finally we're going to get to have some cash from royalties.
Yeah.
And we didn't see any cash. No cash here, no cash. Yeah. Right. So so you know, it's I'm fine, we're fine. We're still getting paid, like we get a wage and we still get paid until February is like when we're gonna absolutely run out of money.
Yeah.
So hopefully something happens before then, or it's very grim. Yeah, but I mean, I just got accepted into law school, so
hey,
I'm doing
good one.
that. Yeah, because if you can't tour, I was starting to go a bit crazy, so I think I needed to pour some energy into something.
Yeah. Well, I mean, actually, I've been slowly chipping away at a master's for like 2 years now, and one of the biggest benefits of being trapped at home has been like I've been smashing that stuff. So like I'm definitely
What are you doing your master's in?
Business administration. Very boring, but
nice.
I've been
HR.
I work for a company that manages before and after school care programs, which I've been doing for a long time. I have a teaching degree, but I've just been in this job for so long, and it's great, but the problem with the teaching degree is all it prepares you to do is be a teacher. It does not afford you.
Surprisingly.
Yeah, yes. It's much like learning guitar. It doesn't really prepare you for the two things I've devoted all my energy to have prepared me for two things only. So
yeah, two very specific things. Yeah.
But because I've been sort of in this management position for quite a while now, I got accepted into this business degree, and which has been really good because it's actually like made me realize like, oh, all this stuff that I've been doing at work and also like with band things like applying for grants and things like that. Like, I know how to do all this stuff. So,
oh wow, you're the grant guy.
I'm the boring grant guy.
Wow, grants are so hectic.
Yeah, but you know, free money is also very sick.
Free money is great. Yeah, I agree. But Jesus Christ.
Yeah, but so like getting the piece of, I mean, it's annoying that we live in a culture where you have to have a piece of paper to say that you can do something, but you know, at the same time, like it is good to get the foundational knowledge as well, not just I've read 100 spreadsheets at this point, so I know how to do one myself, you know. Like
yeah, that's true.
So, like, for you guys, did you just sort of have to reschedule everything, or are you just sort of planning on attacking it when it can go back to
Uh,
normal?
well, I mean, because everything's like different in each different zone. So like
Yeah.
we only really tour mainland Europe, the UK, and America outside of Australia. So
Mm.
the whole of Europe basically just moved everything by 12 months.
Yeah.
Um, it seems like that they just all went, yeah, whatever, 2020 is done. So
Yeah. Just cut it off.
literally everything just got moved 12 months. So um, yeah, we're just really hoping that Australia sort of can get this under control because a lot is riding on Australia. So
Yeah.
it seemed really good until last week, and then it seemed really bad.
Yeah. Well, and I don't know. I like it. My mum works for a healthcare organization, and she was kind of, I don't know, taking the more like conservative view of like, don't go back to work. It's gonna kick off again. Like, which obviously she works for a healthcare, advocacy group. So
Yeah,
she,
of
she
course it's gonna kick off.
yeah.
Yeah,
And so like
it's just like
well, even just like when I said to her, I was like, oh, the pubs are opening up again and stuff. And she was like, don't go to the pub. It's like, I'll tell you now, it's cool that they think it should open, but it'll be closed in like a month.
yeah,
And
yeah.
she was
Isn't
right.
it so strange how like a minority opinion to open things back up fast is like the most pushed opinion in the media, and it actually swayed the leader of Victoria to do something super stupid.
Yeah. And
That he
it's,
was like he like wasn't that keen on doing it, but he
yeah,
just went, oh wow, look, every channel is calling me fucking Hitler, so I better open it.
it's so strange too, because like, I mean, and I guess obviously, live in a bit of a bubble with everyone that I talk to shares the same opinion and is trying their best to do the right thing. And even like myself, for example, like I'm in the industry that is like very directly is being very directly impacted in that we have this weird dynamic where we have to be open to make money for our company, but then we
Yep.
also are deemed an essential service because we are a childcare business. And
Yeah.
if we're not open, then some people who actually have to go to work, like doctors, don't have somewhere to put their kids. So it's very
Yeah.
strange. Like in one sense, like we want to be open, but then me personally, I was like, when our work was like, oh, we can open again, we can do this again, and I was like, I don't want to fucking leave my house. Like, I don't trust any of you.
Yeah, that's it. That's it.
All the people
It's,
going in there have been going to these fucking pubs that I'm been told not to go to by my mum. So
yeah,
like,
yeah. You're like, I saw your Instagram story, dude. Like you were squished in like sardines.
the funniest thing
So
for me with all of that was it got laxed for like a week and a half, and then at the next weekend where it was going to increase how relaxed it was, so it was going to go up by another however many level, it went up for literally one day and then got pulled back. And then
yeah,
1 week later, we're now, all working from home again, all
yeah,
back at home. And it's just like, fuck, man, imagine if we didn't have that one day of it being silly and then the 1 week of it being a little bit more
yeah.
conservative. This all probably wouldn't have
Just like
happened.
yeah, just like 2 extra weeks. You know what I mean? Like it just seems like a small price to pay for the betterment of the entire population.
Well, some of us got to go to the pub for a week, so it's worth it for all the people
Yeah,
that are now in,
yeah,
in hospital. So bad.
yeah. Seems to be along pretty clear cut ideological ways of thinking too.
Oh, yeah. It's I don't know. I mean, I think the a thing like this that you know, I guess I don't know how people are using it to, you know, it's good like you said, like using it to, okay, I'll enroll in uni, I'll try and do something else, but I've found it to be incredibly oppressive to my actual like creativity other than doing this. Like other than doing the podcast, I've had like it's been, I don't know why, like I don't know if it's just like being at home all the time is not good for my brain or something.
No,
Like
I don't think it's just you. I think there's a certain freedom that you feel when you choose to stay at home
yeah.
and you choose to be on your own and you choose to be isolated from friends and you choose to sort of spend a bit of time with yourself. And when someone says, all right, that's cool, now do that for a month,
Yeah.
and you're just like, I don't want to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like things will open back up and we'll all see our friends and then we'll all go, oh sweet, that was that. And now I want to go home and be
Yeah.
on my own. But it'll be on your terms. So I just don't think like when things aren't on your terms, then how are you meant to stay in a creative space or even a happy space?
Yeah.
Because you lose the agency of your own decisions.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and I think that was like half the reason I started doing this again was because it was like,
Yeah.
fuck, I gotta like the thing that I like the most, the thing that I reckon I've personally got the most out of playing in bands and playing shows and stuff has been actually just talking to people and making friends. Like that's far more than actually doing the guitar part or, you know, like it's actually just been like, oh, I get to interact with people who have similar thoughts that I do or like the same things that I do, and it's fun to talk to them about whatever, you know, like even as much as like talking about a record like we have done now is like, it is actually just the function to speak to a person about something. It's not actually the, you know, but this, the whole spark back for this was like, fuck, if I can't do this with the same 8 people that I do it with every week, I'm going to have to fucking start doing it with other people. I'll rev this back up again. Like,
let's get this baby started because I am fucking bored and miserable.
And now some people listen to it, so thanks for tuning in.
Yeah, well, it's good, man. I think like that's another thing is this. I feel like podcasts are like the modern zine. You know what I mean? Like the modern distro as well. It's like you listen to them. You want to listen to people who you're interested in hearing what they've got to say about something. They mention other things, and you're like, oh, I better go check that out. And so it's no different than picking up a zine from the local distro guy used to be like that's how I used to find all my music. It's just like, go see the distro guy. Got fucking $20 this week, go buy a record.
Yeah. I think the thing that I've found like the most enjoyable out of doing stuff like this is as well just like, I guess getting put on to stuff that I wouldn't otherwise do, which is exactly what you just mentioned. Like, had I not... I mean, I think I found, like, everything that I used to love listening to, and a big thing for me, and like, when I was younger was just like, oh, what shirts are those bands wearing? Okay, now I'll go listen to all the bands on the shirts of the bands, you know, that I like.
Yeah.
But like, even more than that now is like things like this or like, you know, as much as I don't try and spend too much time sitting in like YouTube holes or whatever, but like, you know,
but they happen.
They give me a couple of beers and after a football game, and I'm just like melting on the couch in a YouTube hole. But like, it's
you got the replays in the corner and the music on the big screen.
It's really one of the things that like a modern pleasure that I will never get over is like how does my TV exactly know what my drunk brain wants to see? And how do they know it's this, Rage Against the Machine live video from 98? Like, why has this happened to me?
Yeah, I wonder. It's like you've yeah. I guess it would be accruing all the things you talk about at each part of the day and delivering a very well informed guess at what you're going to be thinking when you turn the TV on at like 9:45 p.m. on game day.
As much as I hate that someone is listening to me in my pocket all the time, it's made when I'm pissed on the couch very easy.
Yeah, you're like, it's pretty convenient. Like, isn't that just how we throw away our liberty anyway?
Yeah,
give me convenience or give me death.
Yeah, I've just succumbed to YouTube. This is the sad part of COVID for my existence, is that now all I am is just a shell watching YouTube.
I think like, sans the fact that I am in a band that is touring, and that's my my job. I am also victim to all the various stereotypes of like the old rocker man who just listens to old music, like from when I was younger and better. You know what I mean? Like, all the rap I like is from the 90s. Like, all the hardcore I like is like mostly from the early 2000s and late 90s. It's like just not changing. And now I hear like, like I hear Knocked Loose. I'm like, yeah, it's sick, but I already heard this like when I was growing up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just like, I'll just go listen to where this came from.
Yeah, I mean, I think even for me now, when I do hear like newer bands that I like or whatever, I'll rip into it for a little bit, and then I'll just go, gotta listen to the band that this came from. Which is like
exactly. Yeah. And I find that, I'm like, even because for me, like with age, I've like I like metal more. Like, I'm not like a metal fan or anything, but I listen to like melodic death metal and some black metal, and I'm like, yeah, this is sick. But then for me, it's like hearing a band like Justice for the Damned or something like that, and I'm like, this, like, even the other, like a few weeks ago, I listened to Against, like their later stuff, and I listened and I was like, why don't I like Slayer? I was like, this is just Slayer, and I like went and listened to Slayer, you know what I mean? And I was like, this is actually pretty sick. And I guess it was just like that weird, like, just, I guess, wanting to belong to a niche.
Yeah.
Like a subset of a culture.
Yeah, I mean, I think that in itself was like a maybe like a challenging aspect of playing music in this sort of like scene for a lot of people was, I don't know, like I kind of feel like a lot of there's definitely a subculture group within modern music of like purists who are always beefing on whatever you like to tell you that the original version was better, but at the same time, like,
it's just so dumb, isn't it?
Yeah, it's fucking stupid. But I mean, at the same time too, like, and admittedly, it's like the foundation of everything that I love, but like, Black Sabbath gets cooler every year to me. So like, I don't know.
Oh, but they're so good.
Like, I don't know how much more I could love them, but every year I seem to be more keen.
But man, you just think like no one had done that.
Yeah.
Like, that's what makes it cooler. That's like it's hard to say, like, no one had done this, and they can fully say it. they can just be like, "Yep, no one had done it. No one." Like
Yeah.
the Rolling Stones is just blues music from white people.
Yeah.
Whereas, Black Sabbath is like straight up, we invented heavy metal.
Yeah.
See you later.
Yeah, it's it's definitely like, I think something that I, well, again, like if I'm trapped melting into the couch, it's something where I'm just like, I'm spending way too much time thinking about the origin of music, and I get back to Black Sabbath, and then the night's over. It's a good
Yeah.
it's a good way to cap it off.
Yeah. And then you go, "Yep, I was correct."
I was right. Thank you for reading my diary, YouTube. I appreciate it. Oh, all right. Well, let's wrap this up. Thanks for chatting to me about a record, and then also just everything else
also,
that's happening.
Everything but the record. Yeah, it's fine. It's how I like to roll.
Yeah. Well, no, I appreciate it. I mean, I would say, what do you have coming up? But we're all well aware that
nothing.
It's nothing. So
study. I have lots of study coming up. Lots of reading.
So all the best with your reading and your study. But yeah, thanks heaps for doing it, man.
Of course, man. Anytime.
Cheers.
And enjoy the COVID lockdown version 2.
Oh God, it's depressing. I'll try.
All right.
Cheers, man.
See you, mate.
Thanks.